Is Marco Andretti's career over? Nah, it's not. Not entirely anyway, but he is stepping back from IndyCar racing. And in fact, in this video, we're not just going to be talking about Marco, we're going to be talking about quite a bit of stuff which is breaking in the IndyCar universe as we speak. Some stuff you may have heard about, some stuff you may be finding out in this video. We're going to be talking, obviously, about Marco. We're also going to be talking about Romain Grosjean and his potential signing at Coyne Racing. We're also going to be talking about a potential Barber date change, which apparently is in the works right now. We're also going to be talking about, I can't believe I'm saying this, Cody Ware. Yes, Cody Ware in an IndyCar video. Let's get into it. So obviously, the big news which broke today is that Marco Andretti will not compete in the NTT IndyCar Series full-time in the 2021 season. He announced this on social media, and now we are going to read his statement because it's fairly lengthy. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where they post like 4 photos of text blocks, but here we go. Upon careful thought over the past couple of months, I have made the decision to make some changes to my racing activities and focus for 2021. I recently shared this decision and the changes I want to make with my dad and have spoken at length with him about it. I appreciate his openness and allowing me the flexibility to map out my own course going forward. I'm fortunate to be in a position at Andretti Autosport to run full IndyCar season if I want to, but instead I have decided to change up my direction somewhat, to reset, to do something a little different, look at everything fresh and see where that takes me. And to me, now seems like the appropriate time to do that. I am definitely going to keep driving. I still have a deep passion for it and have unfinished business to take care of and some boxes I want to check before I consider retiring as a driver. First and foremost, I remain very hungry to win the Indy 500. It is our biggest stage and the place I feel I bring the most to the table as a driver. I've come close and am in the mix there, it seems, every year. Winning the pole last year was awesome, but that isn't enough. I knew that a victory there is in my future, so we'll try to get that done here in the coming years. As such, I have committed to and am looking forward to running the Indy 500 with Andretti Autosport this year. In addition to be squarely focused on the Indy 500, I might also take a look at perhaps running some other races on the IndyCar schedule down the road as the season progresses. In order to remain car fit, I have offered to help the team with some testing and other activities along the way. I will also entertain other options amongst the IndyCar paddock as well as different opportunities in all of motorsports. My involvement with Andretti Autosport entry will continue. That's a key point, by the way. I also want to do some sports car racing, maybe even get the chance to do some IMSA racing with my cousin Jarrett, which would be a lot of fun for me. I'll be looking into other sports car opportunities as well in the coming months and would welcome discussions in that regard. Marquee events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, 12 Hours of Sebring, and Le Mans would be on that list. I'm excited for what the future holds in store for both me on and off the track, and again, I'm grateful to my dad and Andretti Autosport for allowing me the freedom to change things around as I'd like and proceed forward differently in this upcoming season. That comes from Marco, and here's a quote from Michael on the situation. Marco and I have discussed this at length. I both support and respect his decision to take a focus on the other areas of life and maybe even other forms of motorsport. We are working on a full season IndyCar entry for him, but decided he wanted to take a different direction, and I respect him for making that decision. I think for any multi-generation athlete, it can be really challenging to find your own ground and make your own name on top of your families. Marco has always had the courage to chart his own path, and I'm proud of the career he's built for himself and the person he's become. I know this decision wasn't easy. But like he has said, this is not retirement. He has some great accomplishments behind him, and I still think he has many more ahead of him. He's offered to help us out with some testing. I'm looking forward to having him back with us at the 500 and hopefully maybe a few more races through the season. All right, so there's a lot to break down there. Now, just going off of those statements, there were a lot of people, myself included, that jumped to a lot of conclusions. The first conclusion was, does this have anything to do with James Hinchcliffe? And I can tell you with authority here, no. this decision did not affect one way or the other whether or not James Hinchcliffe is going to sign with Andretti Autosport, which again, I am pretty confident that he will. Ryan Hunter-Reay signed this week, and while he's not on the testing docket for Sebring right now, again, I don't see a scenario where James Hinchcliffe isn't racing for Andretti Autosport next year, or this year, I should say. Now, this may have had something to do with the decision, although both Marco and Michael said that they were going to do full-time with Marco, or were working towards that for this year, but U.S. Concrete quietly left the team at the end of last year. They had a CEO change. A CEO who was friends with the Andretti family left, and the current CEO does not care for IndyCar racing, so that sponsorship went away. So I'm not saying that that was totally dependent on whether or not. I don't think this was a money issue, especially considering that Marco owns the car himself, as he specifically stated in his little statement there. But at the same time, maybe that did affect a little bit the mindset. Now, the car does have sponsorship still. And apparently, as far as I know, it's not just for the Indy 500. The car is funded for several races this season. So the question is now, Marco is a part team owner in this car. And if Marco drives this car in races past the Indianapolis 500, which he's talked about, how many races is that going to be, and is that going to cover the full spectrum of sponsorship that car has for this season? And if not, are they going to move it to other cars in the team, or is Marco Andretti going to start trying his hand as a full-on team owner and find some way to bring a driver in, whether that's a funded driver or maybe just go out straight out there and hire someone to drive the number 98. I think that's a potential. And again, Marco talking specifically about how he's going to remain involved in the team, I think there is something to that. Well, again, it's not like I have any information on anybody but Marco who's going to be driving that car next year, but I do think that there may be a possibility that someone else gets behind the wheel of that car in 2021. The other thing is that, as mentioned there, Marco will help them with testing. He's going to be in Sebring this coming Monday testing with the team. So it's not like Marco's not going to be involved with the team from the driving perspective either. And certainly this is a late decision, no doubt about it. And that's the other thing that kind of makes me scratch my head and wonder about what's going to happen with this team, because surely if they're about to go test at Sebring, they had people on the payroll ready to crew that car full time. What is going to happen to them? Which, are they going to be moved to other teams? I think that's maybe a possibility. But at the same time, it would be in your employees' best interest, I suppose, to keep that car in the grid. I don't know. It is going to be this is a bombshell, not just for the fact that Marco is stepping back, but it's also a bombshell in that, in a lot of ways, suddenly there's an Andretti Autosport car available, and there's a lot of drivers out there who are still pursuing IndyCar rides or could pursue IndyCar rides, and there are some that have money. So it would be a good opportunity for a part-time driver, or a driver who is part-time. Maybe go give Marco a call. You never know. I mean, that's the thing I do wonder. And we'll have to see. But this car, I think, is very much in play in terms of silly season silliness, I guess, if we're going to say that. I guess we'll now talk about Marco just in general. I think it's a good move, honestly. I think I even suggested it at one point, because clearly the Indy 500 is, and as Marco said, that's his strongest event. It's his strongest track. Him focusing almost exclusively on that event is honestly a good thing. And let's be honest here. Was he really a factor in terms of the championship, in terms of race wins, at anywhere else but Indianapolis? No. And you got to imagine that was a miserable experience in some respects, especially with the amount of pressure that Marco has on him. I mean, I read the comments, and I'm sure he does too. It's like people hold him to a very high standard because of who he is and what position he is in life. it's going to be interesting as well to see what he does driving-wise going forward. He mentioned the Rolex 24. There aren't a whole lot of rides left in that event, so I would imagine that he's not going to be in it this year. But Sebring, that's a possibility. Andretti Autosport does have an IMSA program. He mentioned Jared Andretti. They have an LMP3 car. Maybe that's a way. Maybe they could just do a late entry. I mean, how late could the entry be? Maybe Andretti Autosport enters the Rolex last minute with Jared and Marco and maybe somebody else in LMP3, because that would be something that's open to them if they wanted to do it. They already have the equipment. I'm sure they already have the team put together. They could go run IMSA if they want to. Brian Hurta has a Continental Tire team with Hyundai. That could be another possibility. Of course, Marco was running under the Brian Hurta Autosport banner in IndyCar. And that's another thing to think about. Good God, what's going to happen with the Brian Hurta Autosport? I mean, the car, that was, the Marco car was the Brian Hurta Autosport entry. I mean, what's going to happen with Brian Hurta? Where will he get moved around? Maybe you pair him back with Alexander Rossi? I don't know. There's a lot of things that are just, this has thrown a wrench in a lot of things, and it's so late, right before the season too. I don't know what's going to go on. So I guess we'll stop talking about Marco here for a little while, because obviously we don't want to get too far out into the weeds in terms of speculation. It's been reported, this is not related to Andretti Autosport, recently, that it sounds like Romain Grosjean to Dale Coyne is pretty much a done deal. Not 100% done deal, but Kurt Cavan, who actually works for IndyCar, but reported this on Trackside with Cavan and Kevin in Indianapolis, that Dale was going to sign Romain Grosjean, and Grosjean was bringing $3 million to that team. Now, Racer.com followed up with this a couple of days later with a story which said that, contrary to what a lot of people were saying, this is a full-time opportunity, and for $3 million, I would certainly hope it is for Romain Grosjean. Though the option, of course, is out there if Grosjean doesn't want to run the ovals to make that happen. But I personally, I think it is a full-time attempt. I think it will be a full-time, because I think it's better for him anyway, and I think it's better for the series if Grosjean's running for the championship. And Coyne's cars are very good at the Indianapolis 500, and again, I've continued to compare Grosjean to Takuma Sato. I really do think there are a lot of parallels there, and I think he could thrive very well in IndyCar. Another thing I've heard is that, again, kind of going back to Monday, Monday's going to be a busy day in the IndyCar world, by the way. Apparently, there's going to be a decision made on whether or not the Barber race is going to get delayed. Now, I reported that was a possibility way back when we were talking about St. Pete, which of course ended up happening. And so the same people who were telling me that St. Pete was going to get delayed also told me that Barber's going to get delayed, or potentially could get delayed. And apparently there's a decision on that coming on Monday. Now, whether that's publicly announced on Monday, I imagine it would be. It could be just pushed back a week. It could be pushed back 2 weeks. It could be pushed back months. Who knows? But it doesn't necessarily look like Barber's going to take place on the same date that's currently being advertised. Put it that way. And the final thing, and something I heard literally just recently, I mean, within the last hour or so, and it's hard to believe, but this is a source that has been incredibly, almost 100% right in everything he's told me so far. So I will report this. Dale Coyne Racing with Rick Ware Racing is apparently going to test on Wednesday at Sebring Cody Ware in an IndyCar. And Cody apparently wants to do a part-time IndyCar test or schedule, and this test would be the first kind of step in doing some sort of a rookie orientation, or at least an evaluation to show IndyCar, to try to get him an IndyCar competition license. 2021, everybody. Is it any less crazy than 2020? I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. So that's what's going on in the world of IndyCar right now. Let me know. And in fact, I've got even more. There's even more stuff. I'm working on something. There's a lot of information right now that's floating around about that fifth Penske entry. Nothing about a driver. I want to be very clear about that. I saw some people saying, what about the rumor of Kyle Busch? No, that was speculation. Totally speculation on my part. because I have heard that there's a big name attached to it. I haven't been able to figure out the big name that's attached to it, but I can definitely tell you that behind the scenes there are a lot of things happening, and hopefully I'll have more details to share with you very soon on that fifth Penske entry, because it's like a freaking Sherlock Holmes mystery. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening behind the scenes with that one. So I'll leave you with that teaser. Got a lot more stuff coming. Obviously going to be traveling to Daytona, Florida in the coming days for the Roar and the Rolex 24. And, of course, I'll have my coverage up on this channel, so subscribe for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. Let me know what you think of Marco Andretti down in the comment section below, and be nice. We'll see you in the next video.